Major General Paul Eaton, it is wonderful to see you, even in these strange circumstances. So I just have to start out by asking you for your thoughts on this parade.
Joy, great to be with you again. And the parade is a symptom of a greater problem that a lot of us are calling a crisis in civil military relations. And this parade is a further politicization of the armed forces. But when you get back to the president's performance at Fort Bragg with 82nd Airborne, I'm assuming they're 82nd Airborne, they were wearing the Crimson Beret. Uh, that was the most appalling, the most egregious political event with soldiers encouraged to jeer the Fourth Estate, encouraged to jeer political officials. So, with that as a scene setter, the parade and what's going on in Los Angeles are examples of a crisis in civil military relations.
And let's talk about, because you've put them all together. So let's put them all together. I mean, we've seen Donald Trump usurp the authority of the governor of California, who is the commander in chief of the California National Guard. Courts have now ruled against him, but it's on pause, obviously, because it's under appeal, saying he cannot do that. But he's using the military, threatening to put United States Marines on the ground in Los Angeles. We were just in Los Angeles. There's no reason to do that. Juxtapose that with the idea of having a parade to sort of show off military might while threatening maximum penalties or consequences for anyone who protests.
Sure, Joy. So let's just isolate the parade for a second. It is jarring for Americans to see tanks in the street. We've seen that before during the Martin Luther King assassination troubles that we endured. We have seen heavy equipment in the streets before, and it's not a good image for the United States military or for the United States. Juxtapose M1s in the streets of the Capitol and the use of military in an unnecessary approach to managing local violence. And when I say violence, we're talking about 300 or 400 miscreants who are doing the wrong thing, while you have thousands of demonstrators doing the right thing. And the recent scene of police officers on their knees asking for calm, and then in the arms of the demonstrators, gives you a picture that the things that are going on in LA are not what some folks would have us believe. So tanks in the Capitol, sending a message to demonstrators who are doing the right thing in LA. This is not the democracy that we need to display for the United States and for the world.
You know, the last time that I saw tanks in the streets of an American city, it was in Baltimore in response to the Freddie Gray uprisings and marches that were, again, mainly peaceful. But there was just this incredible armada of militarized police. But they were police. These were civilian police departments that had been issued spare military ammunition, spare military vehicles. So there were still police inside of those really frightening looking tanks. But this is now actually the military itself on the streets of an American city. And we were just in LA. There's no reason for them to be there. They're 3 blocks from those protesters. People are having brunch.
Indeed.
What message do you think that this administration, Pete Hegseth, Donald Trump, and Kristi Noem are trying to send?
This trio that you just mentioned are looking to establish a militarized view of domestic policy. We've heavily militarized our foreign policy over the years at great misfortune. But this totalitarian approach to controlling populations with heavy military equipment is bad for democracy, and it's bad as the leading democracy on this planet. And in the last 5 or 6 months, we've seen a terrific erosion of American prestige with our allies and with our adversaries. And this is this image of M1s, M2s, attack helicopters, just not a good image for our military.
Kristi Noem, the Department of Homeland Security director, has said, and said just before the United States senator was tackled to the ground and dragged out of her press conference, she said, quote, "We are not going away. We are going to be here until we liberate this city and state from the socialists that are governing it, from the governor to the mayor." She essentially said that the purpose of their presence, of the DHS, and military presence, is essentially regime change. Have you ever heard an American official talk like that about an American city and an American state and local government?
Joy, this lady doesn't understand posse comitatus. She failed that exam while she was under question from our senators. She does not understand what she has just said. Uh, the last line of defense against people like Noam, like Hegseth, and like the 47th president, this this is a demonstration of a failure to understand the Constitution and to support and defend the Constitution. Our last line of defense, and it's interesting that this is happening in California, are our governors. And governor pushback against unauthorized or ill-advised use of military force in their domain is the only thing that is going to help our courts, help our judges, help our judicial system push back against a rogue president and his ill-advised group of advisors.
And just
We don't have Mark Milley. We don't
Well,
have
just for
Mark
yourself,
Esper.
as a military man yourself, when you see that juxtaposition of, the military being deployed for the first time in an American city since 1965, when the occasion for that deployment was the Edmund Pettus Bridge March, at which sheriffs were brutalizing John Lewis and other peaceful demonstrators. That used to be the reason that the National Guard would be activated in states. It was to protect students in Little Rock, Arkansas, who are trying to go to school, or to protect peaceful marchers in Alabama. Now, this administration is saying, no, the purpose is to do what they're considering riot control when there are no riots, and to essentially control cities. And then you have the Department of Homeland Security saying, no, actually, the real reason is essentially regime change. Just yourself as a military man, does this strike you as, can you describe this as anything other than fascism? That's what Mark Milley said Donald Trump was. That's what John Kelly said Donald Trump was.
We are under the thumb right now of a fascist regime in the Trump administration. These people wanted the fight that is not happening in Los Angeles. They have done everything they can to escalate as opposed to de-escalate the situation. They are creating a roadway, a ramp to imposition of the Insurrection Act, and that would ultimately open the door for Mr. Trump to allow DHS and to allow SecDef to populate our cities with the armed forces of the United States. And again, our allies are appalled and our prestige is going down. This will cost us dearly in the near, in the short, and in the long term.
Do you fear that Pete Hegseth has already eroded the military enough? And you said there were, military men jeering at the media to Trump's delight and at Trump's behest. Are you worried that Pete Hegseth has already eroded the military so much that we have to fear that members of the military will be willing to do what Trump wants and suppress the population, their own friends, neighbors, and families, because he wants them to?
Mr. Hegseth is out of his league. He is underwater right now. He is not respected in the Pentagon. And with respect to our senior leadership, when we went through Abu Ghraib and the disaster that created for me personally in Iraq and for the collective U.S. military, a four-star general felt compelled to write a letter, Abu Ghraib, black site for the CIA, enhanced interrogations. That's not the military approach to managing our prisoners. We are held and we hold ourselves to a higher standard. I expect the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Mr. Kane, General Kane, and especially the Chief of Staff of the United States Army to issue such a letter that what happened at Fort Bragg is not consistent with the good order and discipline of the armed forces of the United States, that we are held to a higher standard than the President of the United States is demonstrating today, that we are held to a higher standard than the Secretary of Defense is today. We are better, our men and women in uniform, we are better than the civilian leadership that we are required to obey. We must have our senior leadership let our civilian leadership know that the uniform leadership of the Army, the United States military, we signed an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, and we hold ourselves to a much higher standard than was demonstrated by the president at Fort Bragg. We're better than this, and we need better leadership in the civilian slots than we're getting right now.
And I asked you about Pete Hegseth because, of course, he is attempting to erase under his leadership just the memory of Jackie Robinson and Medgar Evers and women who've served in the military, women heroes, gay and lesbian people. They even got rid of the name Enola Gay because they thought it meant gay people, apparently, off of the military websites. And now they're looking to rename ships, to rename the USS Harvey Milk, to rename the USS Medgar Evers, to essentially strip the names of Black people, women, Latinos, and gay people off of U.S. Military ships. What do you make of that?
Joy, again, we're dealing with civilians with an agenda. The agenda is a gender problem, a racial problem, and what we're seeing right now is a gross display of petty approach to erase part of the United States history that and the military is your most integrated culture in the United States. We have been on point for America for racial integration, for LGBTQ integration. We are on point to do the right thing for the population of the United States, and to see the pettiness that's being applied, down to the libraries in our military academies. I mean, when you have to remove the works of Karl Marx from and Angelou from the libraries, you're going to get new officers who won't know the difference between a groundhog and a commie. I mean, this is really atrocious work that they are doing, and it's going to be erased as soon as we can.
I will note that they left in Mein Kampf. Which leads me to wonder if the purpose of this erasure is to create a military that is less diverse, that is more ideologically uniform and racially uniform, and uniform in terms of gender, right? That they want to essentially make the Army whiter, more male, and more right wing. Does that track for you?
Uh, it is so obvious that I'm stunned that our courts have not stepped in to ensure that this extraordinary military that we have, that demonstrates extraordinarily positive judgment every day in most complex situations. Uh, we have what we have because of the nature of the force, and they are attacking the absolute nature and the spine of the United States military.
Let's bring us back to the parade to sort of close where we opened. You are obviously Major General in the United States military, and obviously the military is beloved by you. I've interviewed you enough to know that. So for those who say, why not celebrate the Army's 250th birthday? And so what if that means also giving Donald Trump a birthday parade and spending $45 million? It's worth it in $1 trillion Pentagon budget to spend $45 million to honor the United States Army. What would you say to someone who said that?
Well, all the parades that I was responsible for developing and executing over 33 years, I went to a minimalist approach, and most of my peer group do the same thing. Uh, Very few moving parts, very few soldiers, and a whole lot of colors, flags to demonstrate the history of the armed forces of the United States. The Marine Corps birthday. Let's talk about that. In Baghdad, we celebrated the Marine Corps' birthday while I was there, and it involved a lovely dinner at every location where you had Marines. Sometimes it was a little less dignified than others because of it's tough to do it in a few foxholes, but it was still dignified and involved a toast to the Marine Corps, the Navy, a toast to the Navy. And for the Army, the 250th, I think it should have been a whole lot of unit colors out there, each flag indicating between 300 and 600 men and women in the armed force. Tanks, a bad look, as Senator Rand Paul mentioned. Tanks in the street, just a bad look. There were simpler, cheaper, better ways to do this in a meaningful approach to celebrate our birthday.
Major General Paul Eaton, is always a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. And we do indeed wish the United States Army a happy 250th birthday. And we do know that they are better than their commander-in-chief. Thank you very much.
Joy, thank you very much. That's a very classy end. Thank you.
Okay.